Mastering public policy and lobbying. Policymakers and lobbyists must master crisis communication to survive scandals. How do policymakers and lobbying professionals develop and implement effective crisis communication strategies to mitigate reputational damage and maintain stakeholder trust in the face of public policy controversies or lobbying scandals? Developing and implementing effective crisis communication strategies is crucial for policymakers and lobbying professionals to mitigate reputational damage and maintain stakeholder trust in the face of public policy controversies or lobbying scandals. This can be achieved by following a structured approach that involves preparation, prompt response, transparency, stakeholder engagement, and sustained efforts to restore trust. Preparation is key to effective crisis communication. Policymakers and lobbying professionals should 1. Identify potential risks and vulnerabilities that could lead to controversies or scandals, and develop strategies to mitigate them. 2. Establish a crisis communication team with clear roles and responsibilities, including a designated spokesperson. 3. Develop a crisis communication plan that outlines procedures for responding to different scenarios, including messaging, stakeholder engagement, and media relations. 4. Conduct regular training and simulation exercises to ensure that the crisis communication team is familiar with the plan and can respond effectively in a crisis situation. When a crisis occurs, policymakers and lobbying professionals should respond promptly to prevent reputational damage from escalating. This involves 1. Acknowledging the crisis publicly and expressing regret or concern for any harm caused. 2. Providing transparent and factual information about the crisis, including the cause, impact, and measures being taken to address it. 3. Identifying a clear spokesperson to serve as the primary point of contact for stakeholders in the media. 4. Establishing a communication cadence that ensures stakeholders receive regular updates on the crisis and the actions being taken to resolve it. Transparency is critical in crisis communication. Policymakers and lobbying professionals should 1. Disclose all relevant information about the crisis, including any mistakes or wrongdoing that may have contributed to it. 2. Provide access to documents, data, and other evidence that can help to explain the crisis and the response. 3. Engage in open and honest dialogue with stakeholders, including the media, to address concerns and provide reassurance. 4. Avoid using technical jargon or complex legal language that can confuse or intimidate stakeholders. Stakeholder engagement is essential in crisis communication. Policymakers and lobbying professionals should 1. Identify the stakeholders most affected by the crisis and prioritize communication with them. 2. Establish a feedback mechanism that allows stakeholders to provide input and suggestions on the response to the crisis. 3. Engage in empathetic and compassionate communication that acknowledges the impact of the crisis on stakeholders. 4. Provide support and resources to stakeholders who have been directly affected by the crisis. Sustained efforts are necessary to restore trust in the face of public policy controversies or lobbying scandals. Policymakers and lobbying professionals should 1. Implement reforms and changes to prevent similar crises from occurring in the future. 2. Conduct regular audits and assessments to ensure that the reforms are effective. 3. Continuously engage with stakeholders to rebuild trust and demonstrate a commitment to transparency and accountability. 4. Celebrate successes and achievements in restoring trust and improving policies and practices. In addition to these strategies, policymakers and lobbying professionals should also 1. Leverage social media and digital channels to communicate with stakeholders and provide updates on the crisis. 2. Engage with influencers and thought leaders to build support and credibility. 3. Collaborate with other organizations and stakeholders to share knowledge and best practices in crisis communication. 4. Conduct post-crisis reviews and assessments to identify lessons learned and areas for improvement. By following this structured approach, Policymakers and lobbying professionals can develop and implement effective crisis communication strategies that mitigate reputational damage and maintain stakeholder trust in the face of public policy controversies or lobbying scandals.